guys, so welcome back to Favorite for Friday. This case is a leftover case from last week because I was only able to upload 2 last week. Y'all know, if you've been here on the channel, you know that I normally upload 3, but due to a little time crunch, I was only able to upload 2. So this week, y'all have, I guess, a bonus video for this week, if you want to call it. This week we are going to Milwaukee, or I guess back to Milwaukee. This case is obviously not another well-known case. Unless you're from Milwaukee or in the Milwaukee area, maybe you can ask around. Around this time, you kind of had the Jeffrey Dahmer situation, so it kind of like prioritized the news, understandably, because he was a whole serial killer. Whereas our person for this video there's not even confirmed if they even actually did it. There's speculation. You definitely believe what you want to believe. I'm going to give all the information that is publicly known down below, and definitely know your thoughts down below. And so, with that being said, I'm just going to quit my rambling, and let's go and get started. So, Lorenzia, but we're going to call it Laurie, because not only is it easier for me, but that's what she's called, like, throughout all sources, if you look her name up. Laurie Bembenek was born on August 15th, 1958 in Milwaukee, where our story takes place. So, her father apparently was a police officer, but he would leave, like, due to corruption, because apparently the Milwaukee Police Department was, like, very corrupt. Not very surprising. She proceeds to go on to college in Virginia Beach for fashion. And it is also said that she appeared in a calendar as Miss March. She didn't say what year, but apparently she was in a calendar. So, some of the sources will apparently claim that she is the calendar girl killer. Hence, that's where she got that title from. Apparently she wanted to be a cop just like her dad, despite the police department, obviously, like I said, mentioning before, being very corrupt. She apparently would sign up in March of 1980. She graduates, the school, because obviously you gotta go to training in order to be a cop. In the summer of 1980, apparently she goes to a concert with a friend named Judy Zest. Judy's over here smoking pot. It's the 80s, so I thought that was like more casual, but of course Judy is also a cop, so she also gets fired, because you make it to the police department look bad. And apparently, Laurie had made a report saying that Judy didn't, because I guess, Laurie and Judy are friends, and so that's how Laurie gets fired on August 25th. So then she becomes a waiter in the Hugh Hefner Playboy Bunny Hotel, where she works for like 3 weeks, so almost a month. And she was never apparently an actual official Playboy, even though some sources say different. And then she proceeds to get a security job at the mall, because even though she can't be a cop, I could be a security guard. And I guess people really need a security guard, so that's how she got that job. So one day, doesn't say how, this is always about that confuses me, Laurie apparently comes across a file of photos of male and female police officers apparently naked in a park. Obviously, that's illegal, because you'd be having children in this park. But apparently there was an event, and like a bunch of them were like naked. And apparently some of the photos are available online, but obviously most of them that you do find online are going to be censored. Like their private parts are going to be censored for like obvious reasons. So then she goes to the basically like Equal Employment Opportunity Center and tells them like, hey, us women, because obviously she's a woman, and minorities over here getting fired for like the smallest things, but yet these little white males over here, because at one point obviously the police department was only white males, they can do like a lot worse and get off with like slaps on the wrists or basically scot-free. And that she tells them they're literally only hiring us, being women and minorities again, just to get some affirmative action funding. And so apparently the things they were doing were like selling porn from their cars, which apparently that was illegal, apparently. Accepting oral sex from prostitutes, can understand where that's illegal. Apparently harassing minorities, and visiting known drug hangouts. So not like as part of an investigation or even to like arrest the people there, but just like going there and maybe even potentially doing drugs themselves, who knows. It's not very surprising. So of course they tell her to go to the Milwaukee Police Internal Affairs. So then Laurie eventually meets this officer named Fred Schultz, who was working for the Milwaukee Police Department, which would later come out to be one of the officers in the naked group of photos that she found. And it's believed that she didn't know that he was one of the officers, but just thought I should mention that he was, in fact, one of the officers. He had been married before to a woman named Christine, and apparently they met in college. They had 2 kids together named Shannon and Sean, but they had obviously divorced. And so Christine was born November 15th, 1950. Laurie and Alfred apparently married in January 1981, and then apparently, so obviously Christine and Alfred, or however the hell you want to say his name, they're split. They have 2 kids. He has to pay child support, and apparently his child support is like half his income. He's a cop. And as most, if not all of us know, cops don't make a lot. And this frustrates Laurie because, like, why are we having to give so much to you? So, apparently, on May 27th, 1981, apparently Christine would have a man over by the name of Stewart. The boys would eventually go to sleep because obviously she has custody of the boys. So, the boys are going to their rooms they share. And so, Christine drove him home. So, obviously, drove herself back home. And then apparently, they talked on the phone until like 11:30. So then fast forward, it is like the next day. It's that same night, but it's now like obviously past midnight. So apparently, Sean, which is one of the kids, I assume he's in the bottom bunk. He's trying to sleep. He has a hand over his mouth. So obviously he is scared. He winds up screaming, as one would, and winds up waking his brother up. That person said it went to Christine's room, and then minutes later, apparently there was a gunshot, and then they went out the front door. So then obviously they go run to their mom's room, figure out like what exactly happened, is she hurt? And then they find her there, she's tied up, and she's been shot in the spine. So police get there. Obviously, Christine sadly did pass away. They find a blue bandana on the scene. They find hair on said blue bandana, and also take that in for evidence. Sean, he tells them that this person had red hair. It was a brawny man, green, tracksuit, jumpsuit, whatever you want to call it. So basically say he was a brawny man, red hair, green jumpsuit, and wore shoes that looked like shoes that cops would wear. And obviously, remember, his dad's a cop, and also I would assume that he's been raised to like be aware of your surroundings and take note of things if you are the son of a police officer. And of course, this woman's dead. She has an ex-husband, and usually like current partner, ex-partners, they're normally like they're normally like the killers in these situations. So they go check Alfred first. He says, oh no, I was on a burglary call with so-and-so, and it turns out they're actually getting drunk while on the clock, which obviously can't be doing that, but it was confirmed that he was in fact getting drunk with his coworker. So then they check all his guns, because apparently he had multiple guns, not just a service weapon, but like several personal guns also. And one of them came out to be the murder weapon. It would come out that apparently there was a spare key to the house. So that's how there was no like sign of forced entry. And apparently only Laurie and the boys knew about this. So apparently Laurie and Alfred are apparently living in an apartment. And in the apartment that they lived in, their downstairs neighbor apparently complained of a clog. So then, of course, they hire a plumber to try to figure out what's going on. And they find a reddish-brown wig that someone had basically tried to flush down the toilet. Laurie is essentially arrested. They take hair samples from Laurie's brush and try to compare it to the bandana sample. And it said it was a consistent match. So not a perfect match, but apparently consistent enough to where it was good enough evidence to like arrest her. However, of course, Sean, being somewhat at least a reliable witness, will say that no, it was not Laurie. Judy would try to say that Laurie in fact did own a green tracksuit, but had not seen it since the night of the murder. That tracksuit apparently has never been found, and a boutique owner would actually come out and say that Laurie actually did buy a red wig. So on March 9th, 1982, Laurie was sentenced to would go to trial, and Laurie is sentenced to life without parole. In June of 1984, she divorces Alfred after finding out that he actually was having an affair with a 19-year-old girl. So Laurie would wind up doing multiple appeals, which were denied. On June 15th, 1990, she would actually escape from the prison with the help of her fiance. So she got re-engaged, and basically this is a guy by the name of Dominic, and apparently Dominic was like a brother of one of her cellmates, and he was visiting his sister and thought that he was attractive, so they started communicating and eventually got engaged and came up with this whole escape plan. They go to the cemetery to look for people who were obviously deceased, but were born around the time they were, so go on and take their identities. America's Most Wanted would apparently cover the story, like the story of them escaping, like, hey, if you see these people, like, let us know. They're caught 3 months later in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, because somebody had watched the show. Dominic would apparently stop talking to her 2 months after they were, like, caught, and apparently he only served a year in prison for helping her escape. Anyway, so basically, Laurie stayed in solitary confinement for, like, a year. Of course, she maintained her innocence and claimed that it may have been a man by the name of Frederick Hornberger, which was commonly known as Freddie. And apparently he had attacked Judy, her friend Judy, that she tried to lie for and say he didn't do the weed, but apparently she did. Apparently he attacked Judy 2 weeks prior to the murder. And apparently in prison, he apparently bragged about killing Christine. And apparently he fits the description that Sean gave perfectly. And he was also friends with Alfred. And then in 1991, he committed suicide. So whether or not he actually did it, of course, he'll never confess to, but take that as what you will. So of course, like I said earlier, there were they pulled hairs off of a bandana, and apparently those hairs that even though they were more consistent with Christine and not Laurie, and believe that those hairs were actually traded out, so not the original hairs that they got off the scene. Apparently a neighbor would come testify that Judy, girl Judy, she came to their apartment basically asking if she used the bathroom. I guess the neighbor was like, yeah, that's fine. And then after Judy left, she noticed that's where the clog started. I guess she thought it was just a regular clog, and that's where the wig was found. So a former detective, obviously his name did not come out, otherwise I guess he would understand a little bit scared for his life. He would basically come out and say, look, we actually had a meeting prior to Christine getting murdered, and apparently this meeting was basically to see who's going to be the fall guy for this murder, essentially. And obviously after being pushed by Laurie, it said that there were male DNA on the scene, and that Christine was possibly raped. Didn't say for sure, but apparently she was possibly raped. So basically trying to prove that Laurie couldn't have possibly done it. And then, so in 1992, the gun that they thought was a murder weapon was retested, and it turns out it's not even the murder weapon. And apparently they, to this day, have never found the actual murder weapon. Laurie apparently took a plea deal for like second-degree murder and was sentenced to 20 years. But apparently, even though despite escaping literally 2 years ago, she goes ahead and gets released that same year. 1993, so pretty quick if you think about it, because Laurie just got released the year prior. A movie comes out about this case. I would like to think they already started production, like when she had escaped. But apparently there was a movie that came out in 1993 about this case. And in 2003, there was a judge that said that, look, y'all can bring in evidence, but we ain't paying for that. Like, y'all have to pay that out of pocket yourselves. And apparently Dr. Phil, the show Dr. Phil apparently got word of this, so they were like, we'll pay for it, but you have to open up the results, the DNA test results that were found on national television, which, I mean, I think that's fair, because apparently it was, like, very expensive, because this is the early 2000s. So then apparently they put Laurie in a hotel room, free of charge, of course, since she's going to be a guest on the show. And then apparently she had like PTSD, and then she jumps out a window. She survived. This is a second story window. So she survives, but apparently she has to have her leg amputated. Of course, she never goes on Dr. Phil's show. So if you look her up, like, she never actually went on the show. So of course that got canceled, but she did get a settlement from the show. And the DNA test results came out that there was only male DNA and none of her DNA was found on the scene. So, of course, they tried to appeal. They're like, hey, we have this evidence proving that Laurie is innocent. And the state of Wisconsin was like, you can't appeal because you pled no contest. So, of course, you go to the U.S. Supreme Court and they also deny it. So then, it doesn't give a year, but apparently she meets a guy named Marty Carson. Apparently, like, while on a date, I don't know if it was like a first date or first couple of dates, didn't specify, but apparently on a date, she had already watched a movie that was based on her life, and I guess she thought pretty accurate enough movie by me. So she tells him about everything up front. She said, look, I'm being accused of killing my husband's ex-wife, yada yada. Here's the movie about it. You got any questions, let me know. So she's pretty upfront about her past. Apparently they get married. Fortunately they get divorced. No kids, from what it looks like. But they stay good friends. And then apparently she, in her later years, she would go work in like a museum and have her work put in said museums, you know. Apparently she was a pretty good painter, but unfortunately those paintings got burned down, so we don't have those. And then in November 2010, she dies of kidney failure. November 20th, 2010, she dies of liver and kidney failure. So yeah, Laurie's life has pretty much been all over the place. Do you think she did it? Definitely no. Apparently there was a bunch of evidence that was pointing towards Freddie. That was not publicly named. Do you think she was framed? At first, when I first heard this case, I definitely thought she did it. But after hearing about Freddie and only there being male DNA on the scene, and none of her DNA, and knowing apparently the corruption that the Milwaukee Police Department apparently is, it definitely lets you think. Thoughts always welcome down below. I cover fatal females, 3 fatal females every Friday. Subscribe for more fatal females. And so that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
If I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion. Even though I offer all of the solutions, I wish you loved me like I love you, it's stupid. When I'm alone with you I never feel lucid. I wish I wasn't struck by Cupid. I wish when I first saw you I knew this. When I'm with you I feel so useless, I feel diluted, my heart's been wounded. Silhouettes of you are like a taunt, never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm. I can feel the sweat inside my palm. Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free.
But if I lay down and I play dead,